Good afternoon. I filmed this book for you yesterday, and I apologize because I had to talk really fast. And the reason for that was that I had previously filmed not only the book, but some of what I'm fixing to show you, and it ran over 20 minutes. So I decided that I needed two videos instead of one. As you will recall, this one had what I call a signature wrap made out of scrapbook paper that had pockets and all sorts of flips and folds and magnetic closures. And I kind of wanted to give you a little bit of a sense of how I start out with that. So what I do is I take a 12 by 12 sheet of scrapbook paper, cut down to the height of my pages, and because I have to trim off the 8.5 by 11, my printer leaves the border and I trim that off. I make the height of the book 8 1/4, and then I take the 12 inch by 8 1/4 piece and I score it at 5 1/4 and 10 1/2, and that leaves me an 1.5 inch little flap here. And that's the basic page that I start out with that I then build upon. You can see some of the ways that I build here. So this is the original piece of paper here, and its little piece of a flap on this side. And what I added on this side was just a little extra piece of paper that had this bird that I really liked. It was a cut off from another piece, and put a little pocket. And on this side I used a 3-inch strip of leftover paper that obviously was part of that, and glued it to a pocket piece on this side, but then it's loose but very strong to carry this kind of a flip. And if you recall the book from yesterday, there was a flip like this, and then there was a belly band kind of thing over here. So you can continue to build and think up ideas. This one, for instance, this is one of those Butterbee scraps pieces, and in order to hide where its little brad is, this piece of paper is folded over to hide that, and this bottom piece of paper is folded over to hide where the magnet is, so that it'll close like this. Now that works really well, and I used one of the very small basic gray magnets for this, but they make several sizes. They're all 1/32 of an inch thick, but they're big. There's different sizes, and this is the smaller one because I'm only having to go through the two pieces of cardstock. If I had added some other flips or folds here that it was trying to be magnetized over, I would have had to have used one of the bigger magnets. But this is very similar to that first page in the book, and I would have just added a pocket and had a closure here. On this side, I did something that I didn't do in the book, but this may be for the new one. I created a pocket here with a flap, and then I would put something else in here, maybe another pocket or another flip, because I like to have a lot of interactive things going on. This one just has a belly band kind of thing here, but this one you can do multiple folds. And this is a case where I would put something here that would be a pocket, and then these would fold over, and then I would want to magnetize this to hold it all shut. So I would use perhaps one of the Butterbee scrap items here, but because it's going through this piece of paper, whatever the pocket is here, 3 or 4 pieces of paper, I would use a larger magnet here. And even if you create a pocket, you probably want to cover the magnet with some sort of item so that nothing catches on it and pops the magnet off when you're sliding things in and out of your pockets. So that's another little thing. Now I wanted to show you here using this. This is the same number of sheets of paper that I used in my signatures, and you have this wrap, and you can see how thin it is. And you can see what it grows to here. So when I am spacing my signatures in doing the sewing, you know, you often wonder, why is there this big space? Well, it's because you're going to fill it up, and if you don't leave enough space, this really gets more and more alligator mouth. So if you want to prevent the alligator mouth from happening, I suggest that you take your signature, put all of the embellishments that you're going to put on there, put things in the pockets, and then set your signatures up side by side and kind of see what you need as far as the distance so that you don't get too overstuffed. In addition to the one I'm making for the swap, I'm making one for myself and from my travels. So people go, well, do you actually use these things? Well, yes, I do, but I have the cover made, I have signatures made up, but now I'm going ahead and filling them so that I know how to sew them together. And this has got things like maps from my journey. This was the cover of my travel log from National Geographic that I used, parts of the brochures about my trip, brochures of things that we did on the trip. You recognize the beer coasters. This was the itinerary. I have a little something I've written that I need to put on the back of here. But once again, we took a Hertz car and we traveled, and that's what the little things are going to go back here. This is, you know, all sorts of things from brochures and my photography. You may recognize this. This is one of those little dollhouse rugs again that has made a pocket. I don't currently have anything in there, but I used this scrap piece of paper to make a little booklet with more of the pictures of this particular trip. And you'll recognize this as being an idea that I used again because it was in the Gypsy Journal that I filmed for you yesterday. This is a flip, and you can see how thick that gets when you start adding the brochures, the pictures, the napkin from my favorite restaurant, all those kind of things. They really start to fill it up. And like I said, you end up with a signature that's this fat instead of that fat. So you really need to leave yourself a lot of room, because the fun of junk journals is putting all of the wonderful ephemera and things that you pick up on a day-to-day basis, especially when you're traveling, that you want to include. So I hope this kind of explains things a little bit better for you. I know I kind of ran through everything yesterday, but I really enjoyed making this journal, and I'm like I said, I'm trying to remove some of the ephemera and things so that I can make it fit the criteria for the junk journal junkie swap, because I've had several people saying, oh, I really want you to enter one in the swap. So thank you to all of those people who were so kind to make those comments, and thank you for all of the thumbs up and the likes. It really does make my day. Have a great one. Bye.